Welcome to the channel. This video is going to be a little bit weird because you're going to hear about all of the mistakes that I have made on a project I am making for my mom. She wants one of these puzzle boards for Christmas, so I have been working on it. Diving right in, mistake number one starts all the way at the beginning in my planning and my layout. I made these boards too thin, but that's not something that I realized until later. This frame needed to be 24 by 36, and having boards that were only 1 inch by 3/4, especially in poplar, was not going to cut it. Error number two was laying out the boards right after I cut them and actually stamping them out so I knew which corners go with which, because I wanted to put a dovetail in the end of these. Normally that wouldn't be an error. However, I decided to plane the boards, which meant that all of my marks that I just made got planed off. Not a big deal. I was able to go through and mark everything with a pencil to continue on with the project. Things started going really well, so I'm going to show you some of that footage while I tell you that this video is brought to you by the Alexander Brothers. They provided me with the lumber for this. This poplar is left over from the French cleat wall that you see behind me. Well, not in this shot. But I wanted to try using it for this project because I really liked all the colors that were going through it, and I knew my mom would like the purples and all that kind of stuff. But as you know already, I had to scrap it and start over. But anyways, enjoyed this little break. And this was probably one of the best dovetail joints that I have ever cut. It's not perfect, but I was very happy with it. So I was just rolling at this point, being so excited, ready to go on with the project. But as you're going to see here in a little bit, right here is where things take a turn for the worst. Let me show you. So as you can see, I did not mark out my waist, which led to me cutting the wrong part. You see, this was supposed to be a tail board, but because I cut the tail out, it then turned into a pin board, which I didn't realize was actually a highly debated topic, whether you cut the pins or whether you cut the tails first. And I know I've heard it before, so I said, whatever, we'll just go ahead and, have it be a pin board first. But this is where things drastically go wrong. So everything looks normal here, marking it out, cut it out, everything's fine, but check this out. All right, so let's pause a moment and see exactly what is going on here. So as you could see, I could pull the board out this way, and I could pull the board out this way. Now with a normal dovetail joint, like the one I showed you earlier, you can't pull it out this way. You can only lift it up because of the angles that are there and the way that they lock into each other. With this joint, well, you just can't do that. So let's pull them side by side so I can show you exactly what's going on here. The cuts at the top are the straight lines. The cuts that are facing us are the angled lines, which create that locking joint. Looking at the top joint, the one that's a good one, looking at the different angles there, you can see how they lock into each other. Now, if we look at the bottom one, you might say, well, Jamie, they have the same locking pattern. But what you need to look at is the board that they're on. If you look at the different angles there and you look at the board, it's on the wrong board, so they're not locking together the way that they should. So where I went wrong is when I did the pin board first, I marked it out like I normally would, and that is not how you're supposed to do it. Looking at finewoodworking.com, I see that you're actually supposed to put the board on the face grain and not on the end grain when you mark it out. Now, I had never done pin board first, so I never knew that. But that was a huge error. But that wasn't the last error, because the other thing I did is I didn't pay attention to my layout marks, which was making sure that the A and the A were facing the right way. So when I put it together, it would go together in a Z versus a normal, like, building of a box, it looked like a Z, and that wasn't going to work either. So finally, I had to scrap it because the boards weren't going to be long enough for me to cut those tails off and redo them or try a different joint or anything like that. And then again, that's when I realized the boards were going to be too narrow. So I decided to scrap the whole thing, start over. So I will have a separate video of me actually making this puzzle board, hopefully successfully. But if I have an error or if I mess that one up too, you're going to see it as well. But all right, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys learned something from this. I know I learned a lot from my errors, so I thought this might be helpful for you guys to see as well. If you have any questions, any comments, anything like that, feel free to let us know down below. If you've made these errors, also let me know so I don't feel like I'm all alone. All right, thank you guys. Have a good day.